Good morning, O ye faithful. You know how hard it is coming up with new ways to say hello? I set my alarm like crazy early this morning, and the wind is howling like a freight train outside, so it's like 55 degrees, and the temperature is going to drop here like down to 19. I know I said I don't like to talk about trivial crap, but that's not trivial crap when you're talking about a near 40-degree temperature drop in maybe 6 hours. So yeah, the one cat's like, "Let me in, please. Let me in." Because they know that they have internal. They're more sensitive to barometric pressure than human beings are. So when that barometer starts falling, man, especially my one surviving black cat, uh, he's like, "Fuck this shit. Let me in the house." The other cat, unfortunately, that he's on my video, the one with the cauliflower ear, is either dead or, if I want to think more positively, he has found a house and is living in somebody's house because he was very personable. He would always like come up to strangers and ask to get petted and stuff. So maybe somebody's like, "Oh, I need a cat," you know. But we had a Arctic blast that lasted like about a week here, and I couldn't get him. I couldn't find him and get him to come in the house. Now, to his advantage, he was a long-haired cat and he was very fat, and but I would never see him at the food dishes. I would call for him. I would actually go out in front of the house and ring the bell at the window because he would come to the window at the front of the house on the porch and beg for food sometimes because he don't got no balls, and that's a big disadvantage, you know, when you're fighting other cats with balls for food. So he'd be like, "Help me out here, dude." I'd feed him at the window out there. So I kind of, I don't know if you can hear that. It's fucking scary, man. It's 40-degree temperature drop, damn near coming. You get some crazy ass weather around here sometimes in northern Ohio. It's like super warm for February. It's like 55 degrees, and before the day's over, it's gonna be 19. And anyways, that keeps distracting me because it sounds like a damn freight train. But I didn't bother with the Blue Yeti, and I'm all over the place because I set my alarm early because my appointment is going to be early, coming up in 2 days for my leg. But I was starting to say I made this really angry uh, video um, that was like an hour and 45 minutes because I I have like a confidential therapy disc. All the time on here I'm saying I can't tell you this, I can't tell you that, I can't tell you that because it's out there for public consumption, you know. So I can't tell you where all the bodies are buried and whatnot, you know. But I had confidentiality, and I'm talking to a psychiatrist. And I was like, she wanted me to go over my life story, and I'm like, listen, I don't feel like we have enough time to do that, and I'm not gonna write it out, but I'll make a disc, you know. So I made a disc, and then I foolishly gave this disc to somebody that I trusted, and this has been between 6 months and full year that this disc has just been floating around and nobody knows where it is. And it's got not my whole life story, but it's got a lot of the gory details that I do not tell on here. You know, uh, you always gotta hold a little back sometimes. I feel some of that stuff, frankly, nobody wants to hear. Um, there's a lot of people that enjoy um, car crashes and stuff, but some of that stuff is just, yeah. I mean, as far as your opinion of me or whatever, it's not a matter of that. It's just a matter of, for me, it's a matter of having a sense of propriety. Like having like a Victorian mores about like, that is just not the right for polite conversation. type of thing. But no, the things I have to do to survive, I'm not really ashamed of. It's just that um, it just feels rude. I mean, it feels rude to me to lay here shirtless, but this is just the way I live. I live like a lifeguard in shorts and shirtless. That's just my native garb, man. Shirt, shirtless, and shorts, and hairless. I let the chin whiskers go a little bit, but I got that appointment coming up in 2 days, and so I'm kind of excited slash nervous about that. I got a good attitude about it though. Like, that something's going to get done about this leg, and I can finally walk out of this insane asylum and not be trapped in this. This is literally like a prison. I was thinking, like, when I was angry on the other video, that I'm not gonna put that up, even though it had some good stories. It's just too long. It's too angry and negative, and I don't usually do that, but I was half asleep when I was doing it, and it's like, come on, you know, these people, some of them actually like you. Don't torture them just with nonsense. Yeah, my thought process is very fragmented due to the lack of sleep and what. But the main thing is like, could you imagine if all your dirty laundry, all your filthy things that you may or may not have done, just floating out in space on a disk, and you have no idea where it is. You have no idea who's watching it. You have no idea if copies are being made of it. You have no idea if there's a room full of people eating popcorn laughing at you. You have no idea if a script is being made for a Lifetime movie from it, because it is a messed up story. So if that thing disappears, though, I have made up my mind about this. If that thing disappears and it's just out there in space somewhere, now it could have just got thrown out. It could be in a garbage dump somewhere, and it could be safe. But I'm gonna figure out some way to just put that up and get out in front of it like a politician that fucks around, and say, and not do the Clinton thing, like pretend like it didn't happen, to deny, like and play semantic games, like what do you mean by is? There's no game, gonna be no games, man. So um yeah, I mean, the only thing of it is like, there's very little chance. The way I'm gonna do it, there's very little chance that anybody would find it, that would be hurt by it. But if I put that up, I'm risking total alienation from my family, because they don't want that stuff said. They want the truth suppressed. And I'm not a liar. I didn't tell any lies in it. And I didn't tell all the truths either. I mean, I held some back because just of the length of it. And yeah, I'm going to just, if that disc is just floating around and I don't know where the fuck it is and I don't get it back, and I asked the person, I just got an email from them. It's part of the reason why I'm doing this video. And they said they got no idea where it is. They're going to keep looking. And I gave this other person who has substance issues, like, they know they're going to get money if they get that back to me. So they definitely don't know where it is either. That's the person I originally gave it to, being a naive, foolish, trusting asshole, or gullible. I remember a long time ago, man, my one cousin called it straight up. He said, "You're just gullible," when we were in our 20s. And yeah, I was no one to fuck with back then, as far as if getting in a fight with. And that came real close. That little discussion we had, it came real close. And it was over top a place we lived in called the Wig Style Center. So if it would have went to the ground and pound, man, there would have been dust coming down on all them wigs. Because we lived in a place that was called the Wig Style Center. And to pay for their business, they rented out the loft above this wig shop, and there was actually heads in the windows with different wigs on them, and it was called the Wig Style Center. I'll even tell you where it is. You can even look it up. It's on this. It still exists. It's on this place uh, in Canton on Tuscarora Street. So you can even look it up, and see that. Take a look at it. That's my first apartment I ever had, and we lived. It was a roomy apartment. We paid $340 a month for it, and we had this whole attic space where we could have stored tons of shit. But in the attic, it was like 1,000,000 degrees. The heat was unbearable. It also had this cool setup where you could like go out on the roof and sunbathe. So I used to do a lot of that, even though I'm a fair skinned lad. And I used to like to lay in the sun and stuff just because it felt good, and I liked having a little bit of a tan. And so you could walk out, the one bedroom window and walk out onto a flat roof. And then you get a surprise sometimes because there was steps walking up next to the roof because it's a second story apartment, and somebody would walk up and you'd be like right there in your speedos or whatever, and they'd be like, "Oh," you know, you wouldn't get the surprise. They would. Well, I guess you'd both be surprised. But I remember one time. God, that's a good story. I guess I can tell it. But a certain person that I was living with in that wig style center. Um, Let me start it a different way. The ladder broke. We'll call it a ladder because that's more or less what it was. But it was like steps going up. And this one guy, uh, he either broke his foot, he was a guest, he either broke his foot or he already had a broken foot. He almost fell through the steps. And I mean, it was a lot of steps. It was like 15 steps to get to the second floor of this place. So this step just broke. And, he didn't fall and get killed or nothing like that. I know he had a bad foot, but I think he had the bad foot already when it happened. I don't think he broke his foot doing it. But the point is they like to fix it. They like sawed off like 8 feet of the steps towards the bottom, and they just put a step ladder there. So you'd have to climb up this step ladder and then get onto the regular steps. So getting groceries in the house was tricky for a while. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not up to code. So that is the only thing that prevented a certain individual from committing an accidental act of incest was the fact that there was that ladder situation there. Because this person went like you gotta understand. I got when you have like a situation like mine, I have 20. I had at one time 20 aunts and uncles. Then you magnify that into cousins, and I got people that are related to me that I don't even fucking know. I mean, I've never met. I don't even know their names. I mean, that's a lot of family and secondary family. So this guy, he goes to some party, cookout, or anyway, or whatever, but he meets this red hair girl, and he's making out with her real heavy in the parking lot, and they had been drinking, and they were gonna go upstairs and fuck. But the problem was, she's like, I ain't going up no step ladder, because she was drunk. But that is the only thing that prevented him from accidentally banging his cousin. And he was like, "Oh God, thank God for that step ladder, man." I mean, that's all fun and games if you're watching two people pretending to be related on what's the popular form of pornography nowadays, which is this incest type porn that seems like to be everywhere, but it's not so funny in real life. It's not a you know, it's not a lollygag. It's something that will fuck with you. So she was too drunk. She's like, I'm not climbing up that step ladder. It's like, that looks dangerous as hell. I gotta climb up a step ladder and then climb up steps. And yeah, but that's the truth, and that's nobody's fault. It's just, when you have so much family and you have different names and stuff, and you just meet somebody, and you're young. in your early 20s and you're nothing but walking hormones, and you get a chance to get laid like that, and you don't ask for like a family history or anything to see if you belong to the same damn tree. You just want a little branch if you're the girl. The metaphor works better. If you know what I'm saying. But yeah, uh, I told a funny story or two in the other one, but it's like, man, it's too long, and I don't want to edit out the parts. And I was just very angry that there was like this possibly damaging confidential therapy tape just or disc just floating around in space. I have no idea where it is. So if it doesn't turn up, I'm just gonna put it on here, and I'll find a way to do it. You know, that will be. I don't know if I'll edit it. I might edit out a name or two out of it. You know, but I'll figure out some way to do it. But yeah, I mean, if it's gonna be floating around out in space, I would rather like put it on YouTube myself, and that way, if they make a Lifetime movie out of it, I can get some copyright. And I can say, look, this is my life that they stole. I can maybe make some of that Lifetime movie money, maybe get some royalties out of it or something at least. But anyways, drinking way too much coffee because it tastes so damn good, and the glass has been bothering me. It's one of the many million things I have to do. Is I have to go to the eye doctor and get a different pair of glasses, because you often see me like rubbing this side of my face. It's because of my stupid, ancient, decrepit, disgusting glasses. I have these and I have contacts, and I bought new glasses that were bifocals, and how anybody wears bifocals is beyond me. I hate the fucking things. I paid like out of pocket for those things too. So I was like, I really wanted to break these up with a hammer. Like literally, I had these glasses for a billion years, and I wanted to break them up with a hammer. I hate them so much, but now I'm stuck wearing them, and I got to prioritize. So I got to get my leg taken care of, and that's what I'm concentrating on right now. And then maybe if I can get my appointment scheduled for my surgery, then I can go to the dentist and try to save what remains of the 32 soldiers marching on a hill. I think first they chomp, then they stand still. So I think it's one of the Gollum riddles from The Hobbit. But I don't have 32 soldiers no more, man. I got about 22, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. One interesting story that I told that I think was worth saving off of there, which is completely unbelievable. But, a lot of my life is completely unbelievable. But one of my sisters, and they used to like to smoke the 70s weed, which is nothing compared to today's weed. But, it still got you high, got you off and whatnot, made you goofy. But one Halloween, now Halloween in the 70s was the shiznit. It was awesome. It was my favorite holiday over Christmas, because you could wander, at night and be six. They would send kids off in packs. Like, the oldest kid would be 10 or whatever. But as long as you weren't walking alone and you had somebody with you, because this is the 1970s, man. This is like barely after Ted Bundy hit the news. Uh, they would just I just remember going with like two or three people and going trick or treating, and we're just all kids, and you get to be kids, you get to be out at night, you get to get candy, and you know, you you could go like until people turn the light off, and sometimes they didn't turn the light off until 1 o'clock in the morning, so you were just gone all night on your own, anywhere from 6 to 13 years old. But I mean, I'm talking little kids. Yeah. So I would usually take a pillowcase, throw that shit over my back like Santa Claus. And sometimes we take 2 trips. We go back and dump out the candy, and then go back out again and get more candy, you know. But then just to have that miserly feeling, of just dumping out all that candy, in a big fucking pile, and like, look at all these fucking. Ooh, this bitch gave me one of them corn balls, man, like popcorn balls. Yeah. You're like, oh, look at this one though. This is the king-sized Milky Way. Dad, that's more like it. Look, chocolate with almonds. You know, way this person gave me raisins. Are they out of their mind? Raisins? But the worst thing that anybody ever gave me, and I still remember this to this day, and I'm going to post a link to it. But there's these religious tracts that were called chick tracts. They're like little pamphlets meant to terrorize you into repenting and following the Lord and whatnot. But anyways, I don't know how old I was, man. Anywhere from um, 6 to 10, 11 years old or whatever. But I go to this. She lived right across the street, man. Her name was Aldermore. She's not with us anymore, of course. But she gives me this pamphlet, because she's a religious. Sorry about the itchy nose. She's a religious person. And I go underneath the street light at about, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night or whatever. I open up this pamphlet and I start looking at it, man. It's got all these scary shit. And that's why, like, in the other video that I didn't post, I started referring to Mr. Dead. Or I always think of the Grim Reaper as the guy with the sickle in the hood. Is because, like, I was fucking, that was the scariest thing that ever happened to me on Halloween. Is opening that tract and looking at that tract underneath the street light at like 11 p.m. And it was designed to scare the fuck out of people. And I could remember it panel for panel because it was, it was like a picture book. I didn't do comic books. I was never into comic books or graphic art novels or whatever you want to call them. But this thing I remember, and I remember it panel for panel. It scared the shit out of me. Because I grew up, like I said, I grew up Catholic, and I was terrified by The Exorcist. And, you heard my psychotic episode story and all that. But, yeah, I'll put that link in there. But the story that I'm getting to, which is, I don't know how old I was, and I'm not talking to the sister right now, or I would just ask her the details of it. But she would probably say she doesn't remember anyway. But she got high, and she got this idea in her head that would be funny. So she dressed up my sister as a garbage bag, and just literally as a garbage bag, and just took a gigantic hefty lawn steel sack type garbage bag and stuffed it with newspapers. Easiest costume in the world. Cinched like a little bit of loosely around the neck, and then cut leg holes for it, and it was all puffy and wide, and she went for Halloween as a garbage bag. She got the easy end of the stick, because what I got dressed up was a hooker. A very pretty girl. And I'm between the ages of 6 and 10 years old. And, the memories, of course, are foggy, but here's what I remember about it. Makeup was involved. A skirt was involved. Leotards or hose or whatever you want to call the stuff people put on their legs was involved. That's the parts that I remember. I remember liking the attention and not understanding what was going on and allowing her to do this. So I must have been very young. And so, I don't know if the intent was to dress me up as a hooker, but the joke that got in her mind and wouldn't get out was to dress one kid for Halloween as a garbage bag, and one kid as a cute little girl. And she, as she put it, I'm gonna put you both out on the corner and see which one gets picked up first. Now that might seem like a funny joke in the 1970s, that innocent and pure time, but yeah, not too funny in 2019. Now with pedophilia nightmares and abduction nightmares floating around in everyone's heads. But yeah, it's like I never. That didn't turn me into like a transvestite. I think I had to wear tat hose once, for circulation, and then this is just me being honest. And then I bought like a woman's hose and tried them on just to see if it would be sexy or I would get a kick out of it. I mean, not pantyhose, but just like to the thigh hose. And I was like, it's not my thing. So it didn't turn me into like a transvestite because I'm open to experimentation and finding out about myself. But I was like, gotta wear these tet hose things. I can barely get them on. What if I buy just like a regular cheap ass pair of thigh high hose? Maybe I'll get some kind of kick out of that. No, not really. Uh, just felt kind of silly. Um, so yeah, that didn't turn me into a transvestite or anything like that. But I don't recommend that to anybody to dress up small children on Halloween as transvestites and send them out in the street to trick or treat. I don't remember anything bad happening that night. Like I didn't get made fun of because I was a sensitive kid. I didn't don't remember getting beat up or made fun of or anything like that. Maybe um, I had adult supervision at the time. I don't know. Maybe that's why. You think I would get beat up or something like that, or maybe they did such a good job, and I kind of did look like a girl facially when I was young. I was always like just man pretty. Uh, yeah, as my 20-year-old snapshot shows on here. It's like, yeah, I was always like man pretty. I even had like an older woman said I was talking to her and I was like she called me pretty. And I was like 23 years old because I was talking to her and she was like I was telling her like about my physical deal and my history and stuff, and she was like an older lady in her 60s. She said, "Man, that's a shame for such a pretty young man." I was like, "So look at me now. I ain't purdy, not purdy no more." But yeah, that was the thing that got in her head and wouldn't go away. Is that she wanted to use that line? We're gonna put you both out on the corner and see which one gets picked up first. And like I said, I would talk to her about it. She probably wouldn't even remember. I hope it. I hope she wasn't stuffing a bra on me or nothing like that. Who the hell knows, man? You're talking some wacky, wacky people. That's a wacky idea in the first place. But anyways, now my nose. Now I gotta be rude, and my nose is bothering me. But yeah, that gives you an idea of the type of upbringing I had. I had some crazy shit going on in my house. It's like, who would even think that that was anywhere near appropriate? Uh, and I was rolled with it. I just liked the attention, but I haven't worn a skirt since. I like to see skirts, but not on me. I've always been fond of skirts because I had to go to Catholic schools, and they always made the Catholic school girls wear uniforms. So, you know, I'm not saying the brawny guy on the paper towel commercial gave me half a chub, but if I see a plaid skirted girl, I get that momentary like nostalgic thrill. If she's good looking, it might be more than a thrill, just because of conditioning. Because I went to Catholic school through my formative years when I was hitting puberty and stuff. So those were the girls that I were looking at were the ones wearing the plaid skirts in these Catholic schools. All the way up to the ninth grade when I was 15. I think I don't remember when I hit puberty. Um, and then I went to public school, and for like half a year, and I had that incident. I was like, man, I just can't escape skirts. Where it was cheerleader, it was the day before the high school football game, and they have the cheerleaders dress up in uniform, and then they go to a rally or whatever after the on Fridays, and then the football games on Saturdays. So the hottest cheerleader and really probably the hottest girl in the entire school body wise. I already told this story before, but she sat down, and the skirt, of course, was plaid, and I was sitting way in the back, and nobody was behind me, and no one was behind her but me. And her skirt got caught on the back of the desk, and I got to look at her in her underwear for like 20 minutes and blew a load in my pants over it. But I already told that story, you know, um, in more detail. But yeah, that was fun. Um, no, I don't. As far as things like that, it's like you gotta understand. Like when you get to be like 51 years old, it's like you understand that that person that you was. They say people don't change, and but really the person that you was is not the person that you are if you go through things. If you go through the kind of things that I've been through, it's like change happens. Um, there is a certain amount of truth to the idea that people don't change, like their core personality. I'm still a gullible fool. I think I will be a gullible fool until I die. I'm still the type of person that would give away a therapy disc with confidential, super sensitive information on somebody, trusting them enough to give it back. And they don't know they clearly do not know where it is, because there's in it for them if they give it back to me. And the place where it's supposedly most likely at, she says she's going to keep looking for it, but she don't know where it is either, you know. So that's floating around out there. I got really angry, and I made like a really angry video about it, and then it got into total incoherency with some amusing stories thrown in, and just like, well, I put it in the editor program, and I was gonna like edit out some of it, but I was like, man, just scrap it, just throw it out. Um, yeah, but yeah, I'll just put up my it's my life story. I mean, if other people are involved in it, I say maybe some things that can be viewed as unkind, but they're just true. And I may have said in that video or another video, is like I don't like to say bad things about people, even if they are true. You know, I don't like that. That doesn't make it. Wow. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's like a wow. That's like I'd be looking for tornadoes if it was a different time of the year. That freight train noise. That's scary, man. Like Ohio is a cool place to live for a few reasons. We don't get wildfires. We don't get earthquakes. We don't get flooding. We just get crazy ass, unpredictable weather, and we get a lot of cold. You just have to deal with cold. Jesus. Pretty soon you're going to hear garbage cans like rolling down the street. But I actually lived through an earthquake, and this is what an Ohio earthquake amounts to. And this is like when I was in my hospital bed, when I was incapacitated in a back brace. And I was stuck in the living room of my parents' house. This is it? This is what an Ohio earthquake is like. I was like, what was that? And then I looked, and one of the pictures on the wall was like turned sideways a little bit. And later on the news, they said we had an earthquake. That's an Ohio earthquake. We don't get earthquakes. We get tornadoes. We do get tornadoes though. So I may have told my story before about how I unfortunately missed being in the middle of a tornado. I got hit by a mini tornado, which it was just a water spout. It wasn't the real kill you type of tornado. It just made instant 40 to 50 mile an hour gale force winds on me alone while I was fishing with three other guys that it didn't hit. I told that story before. That really quickly. That was just I was fishing, sitting in a chair. My brother is over here like maybe 50 feet to 100 feet away, and the other dude's across the pond, and he's not the type to tell these kind of jokes. And he says, hey man, there's a tornado coming. I'm like, what? And I look around, the skies are all blue and stuff, and then I look at the water, and there's this big, large circular disc on the water with like spray coming off of it. And it's like, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I'm just mesmerized by it. I'm just caught in the moment, and it just starts, it's like going around and around and circles around the surface of the water, and it's very pretty small pond. But then it stops, and it's like it was looking for me. It stopped, and then it like sighted its target, and it just came straight for me. And I'm like, well, this is happening. You know, that's what went through my mind. It's just like, well, this is gonna happen. And then it hit me, and I had to lean forward to keep from being knocked over in my chair, and my shirt was flying behind me, and I was like gale force 40 to 50 mile an hour winds, and it lasted for like 1,005 count or something like that. And then my brother was like right there where I didn't even have to talk very loud to I was like, hey, did you feel that? He goes, no. I said, did you see what just happened? He said, I saw your shirt flapping behind you, because I was wearing a flannel shirt that was unbuttoned. It was flapping behind me. So actually, that's the only tornado I got to experience. It wasn't a tornado really. It was like a water spout thing that I got hit with. And I don't take it personally, you know. I don't take that as a sign of something or whatever. But the disc that is missing is actually uh, titled, "This is why I was not surprised to be hit by my own personal tornado." And so I had made it shortly after this event. And in other words, like, my life has been such a train wreck. It's like, that's not a surprising thing to me that like there's three guys and I'm the guy that gets hit. You know, and about knocked over. I had to lean forward to keep from getting knocked over in my chair from the force of this wind. It was cool. I raised up my arms and I said, woohoo, like I was on a roller coaster. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, I wasn't scared. I mean, I was like, I knew something significant was going to happen, and I was trapped in the moment. And, you know, I don't, somebody like that's alienated like me, they don't get to be trapped in the moment very often. And I was just like in the moment. I'm like, you know, no thoughts were running through my head when I was watching that disc across the water. And then it came through me, and I said, this is going to happen to myself. Meaning, there's no time for me to get out of the way. I'm going to get hit with whatever this is. That's the thought that went through my head. Is like, yeah, this is going to happen. Anyways, the tornado that I missed was a serious tornado, and the weather was bad out, and I was going to go to Office Max and pick up some supplies when I was in my writing days, and the weather was like a little bit iffy outside, and I was like, I asked my ride, I was like, you want to go now, or you want to wait until after, like, whatever's going to happen here is going to happen, because it's looking pretty dark outside. He was like, I don't care. We can go now or we can go after. And I was like, it's like, I'm in no hurry. And he goes, well, I'm in no hurry either. So we waited like a half an hour. And it looked a little better outside. And I said, well, it doesn't look like it's going to storm. But what happened is the storm moved over to the shopping center that we were going to. And the first thing that I noticed where I realized something significant had happened is I saw a shopping cart, a metal shopping cart, and it was ripped in two. The basket part was ripped apart from the part with the wheels, I guess you would call it the chassis. And I'm like, what the fuck happened here? The next thing I saw was there was a furniture store called Helig Myers. Was a store called that. And there was a gigantic 10-foot metal G just laying in the parking lot. And I'm like, tornado. That's when I said tornado. I saw the cart first, then I saw the G, and I was like, tornado. And that whole front of that building just got ripped off. All the windows were shattered. If you went through, we went through the parking lot, and there was just more shopping cart debris, and there was like tornadoes, of course, are very sporadic and weird, and there was just like broken windshields, and then like all the cars that were parked closest to the stores. All the windshields were shattered or splintered on them, and I was like, wow, this is very weird. And then Office Max was intact. It's how weird tornadoes are, but it was intact. I mean, it. The way I remember it is, if it had any damage to it, it had minimal damage. But Helig Myers, this furniture store that was beside it, was completely destroyed. So if I would have said, man, let's go ahead and go down, it would have been great, man, because I would have been in. I would have had a great tornado story that would kill the other tornado story. The other tornado story is just cute. This was a tornado story that, it fucked some shit up. This was the real deal. This was like F2, F3. I mean, it had a qualification to it. And it tore the hell out that building, man. It destroyed the building and left the building right next to it fine, which is the building I was going to. So I could imagine that we would have been in there hunkered down underneath something, and had that delightful, terrifying, yet ultimately safe experience of being in a tornado. Or we could have arrived in the parking lot while the tornado hit, and our car could have got flipped over, and I could have got my head bashed in. But, I like to think optimistically. So, yeah, that was a missed opportunity. And I knew a couple of dudes, or like we met a couple of dudes at this place that was, it's called the Strip around here locally. It's just called the Strip. It's just like a bunch of stores. And right by the Strip is this a lake, like mini lake that we would go fishing at. And we met these dudes down there, and they were on a boat when that tornado hit, and there was like we about capsized, he said. And I said, how could you capsize in this little tiny, it's not even, you can't even really call it a lake. And he said, you don't understand. It's like that tornado could come over and it turned this whole pond into like white caps. And like it was all we could do to keep the boat from capsizing. I'm not too sure I would be cool with that experience because I don't swim very well. But yeah, I knew they weren't lying because that was, they chart the path of the tornado, and the tornado went over there, and it was right by that strip of stores where it did all that damage to the parking lot. And then we got trapped in the parking lot, you know, because a water main had broken from the tornado damage, and they were repairing this water main, and then they had this huge parking lot, but they only had like one exit, and they had cops in there, and they were, so we were just like stuck in like a traffic jam in a parking lot, and it had many, many exits and many stores, but we were just stuck like inching along like in a traffic jam in a parking lot. So that was kind of a unique experience to be in a traffic jam in a parking lot. A real traffic jam where it took like 40 minutes to get out of a parking lot. So yeah, that's interesting. I think it's interesting. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty mellow. I'm pretty cool with the appointment coming up. I mean, I assume they're just going to talk to me about the EMG test and tell me the results of it. I don't expect them to say, I'm just way too optimistic, but I don't expect them to tell me anything about nerve damage or, this. I don't expect bad news. I expect them to say, well, you just got that Baker cyst. And then I expect to be like, look, man, it's been 3 years of this. It's horrible. It's painful. Can't walk right. My other leg's screwed up. I got two bad legs. If you can drain that cyst, do some work and some operations on its knee, I can have one good leg and I can get back to walking around. In the meantime, I'm trapped in this insane asylum, which literally one guy is insane that lives above me. The other person, the people that live above me, they are so loud and stamp around so much. I don't know if this is a repeat for you, but I have a 5 light setup with a dimmer switch in my living room. 2 of the lights were out. Well, I'm sitting there with the person, and this person's in a foul mood, and they're stamping around making all this crazy ass noise, and you got Stampy and Stampy Jr. up there. They turned 2 of my lights on. It suddenly got brighter in the room. whatever they stamped on affected the electrical wiring and the bulbs, and they fixed my lights by stamping around. It's like instead of 3 bulbs working in that room, I had the full 5. And the other person that was in a real, depressed, foul mood just started laughing about it, and kind of snapped them out of their mood a little bit. And I said, "You don't understand. This is not surprising to me. It's like I used to have my heavy electric bike, and I would put it against the wall. And I would test it to make sure that it was sturdy and wasn't going to fall over because it weighed so much. And with me being crippled up, it was super hard to pick up. And they would stamp so much that the vibrations, I'd be just laying in bed like I'm doing now, and I'd hear a big crash, and the vibrations would knock it off, and then the frame of the bike would hit the wall and scraped all this white paint off of the wall and actually did damage to the wall. Nobody touched that bike. It was just the vibrations from people moving around. So that's the kind of thing I put up with. I'm kind of like trapped in a prison of flesh and trapped in an actual prison because I can't really use the living room unless, my living room. I got my living room, I got my bedroom, I got my kitchen, I got my bathroom. So, mainly I just got this huge living room that I never use. I just chill in this bedroom. And because this is like the least amount of noise. It's really, really loud in the living room. Now you might say, why are you being passive? Why aren't you proactive? And why aren't you confronting these people or talking to the landlord? Well, if you knew my landlord, and if you're familiar with my stories about my landlord, you're not asking that question. If you're not familiar with the stories, my landlord don't give a shit. You don't care. I've had an 8-foot hole in my wall for 3 months. You don't care. He doesn't care. He cares about this. And that's guaranteed money up there. That's Stark Metropolitan Housing. Those people ain't going nowhere. So, I just have to live with them. I have my shooter's earplugs handy right here. They're specialized, made for to block out actual gunfire. And if I jam them in my ears really tight and they got fins on them and stuff, they cost money. They're not the foam ones. I tried the foam ones. The foam ones didn't work. They didn't do shit. These things cost money. And so, when I read my audiobooks or whatever, I put them in, or when I just can't take it anymore, I put them in. And yeah, so they fixed the leg. I'm going to be doing a lot of walking on it, getting out of here as much as possible. And as you know, I don't have a lot of friends or a lot of people that are particularly helpful to me where, I'm comfortable saying, hey man, I need to get out of the house for a few hours. I'm going stir crazy. I have some business errands to run today, which it's 10:43, so it's getting to be about the time to do those. When I make a video, I'm old, so somebody told me once, it's like you don't call somebody and then just not give them time to talk, right? So I guess you clicking on this video is like calling you. Like, me by now. You're gonna get something long. You're gonna get something weird. You're gonna get some shirtless old dude talking some crazy shit. That's just me. So you know what to expect by now. Occasionally I will do a freakishly short video of like 13 minutes. But mostly I like to let my mind do its thing. I used to be a bright guy. I'm not a bright guy anymore. I used to be a very intelligent person. Almost freakishly so when it came to certain topics. Uh, like anything involving abstract thought. I was just a monster at debate, logical thinking. I was the king of the hill, man. But I got too much pain, and I got too much pain and too much benzo damage. Right now, I'm cool with the volume right now. I'm like taking 10 milligram pills a day, which I'm supposed to be taking 3. So I got that. That's in hand. And I've been January 4th is when I took my last Xanax, so we're going to be coming up on 2 months here shortly with no Xanax. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to adjust to that, and how long it's going to take for me to take off, uh, get rid of the volume too. But I'm hanging on with the volume until I can get my knee working, because it's just too much stress just being trapped in the house, in this madhouse. And yeah, these people, I don't know if I told this story before, but these people are not nice people. And this is how you know not nice, considerate people. And my landlord, there's a guy in there with a wheelchair. If I apologize if I already told these stories. This is why I don't like to delete videos, because I can't keep track of I might have told this on deleted video, I might not have. Anyways, just making it longer and worse. Dude in wheelchair got trapped going down the ramp twice in the snows of northern Ohio winter. Once I saved his ass, once he saved his own ass by having his medic alert bracelet and pressing it. And so the landlord heard about it, and he was like, well, we'll just put one of the garbage cans on the porch for you. So the guy in the wheelchair, he knocks on my door, and he says, did you put anything in this garbage can out here? And I'm like, no, not this week. Last week, but not this week. And he said, well, it's full already. And he was like, the landlord told me he put that there for me and you to use. So he would, 'cause the landlord knows I'm pretty fucked up as far as walking, and I've told him I've been falling down and stuff. And, uh, that's the kind of people you're talking about. It's like these people can walk, and they're like, the guy's in a wheelchair, and they're like making him go down this ramp and go, they won't walk an extra 30 feet to throw they're not thinking, they just care about themselves and their own convenience. They're not thinking like, well, walk an extra 30 feet because that guy's in a wheelchair and that other guy's all crippled up. They've seen me before walking with a cane. And yeah, that's the kind of people I'm dealing with. So that is why I'm like not dealing with them, because when you're dealing with scum, and you're just gonna aggravate yourself. Um, there's no point to it if they don't have enough sense to even figure that much about common decency out. Um, there's no point. It's just gonna aggravate me, so I just have to put up with it and keep on that even keel. And yeah, struggle through until I can walk, and then quit the volume. If I can walk and do my exercises and stuff, and like I said, the times that I do get out, I do have a good time, and I spend it with people that are sort of my friends. It's like taking two volume. So I come home and I'm relaxed and I'm calm, and but being trapped in the house, not really being able to exercise and everything like that, it's like I'm hanging on with the volume until things improve for me. And we're approaching an hour now, and my voice is froggy. So much for my audiobooks, which I've been struggling like hell to do. I did a successful part yesterday to the last Algonquin. But at this rate, it's going to take forever. I didn't get enough sleep. I set the alarm for 8 and went to sleep at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, I don't know when. And because I have to get up early in a couple of days, and I want to maintain a pattern. I'm drinking my second cup of coffee here. I also told a story in the other video about somebody that's still alive killing someone, which frankly it was self-defense. I'll tell you the story, but I just threw out names, and I was just being stupid in this video. You can't do shit like that. Anyways, this particular person who I know, um, they were in the outskirts of a big city, and the outskirts of the city is known for like hyper violent crime type areas. But he lived in the country, but he would have to go to the city every so often for business purposes. So he's walking at night, and this Vietnamese guy just pops up on him and pulls a knife on him and says, "Give me your wallet." As he put it, this Vietnamese kid. By kid, him being older, he probably meant like a 20-year-old, 20 something. What the fuck am I doing? I'll edit this part out. Okay. For you people, I just had to spill the beans again. So I have to edit the part out. I just outed the person who did the killing. Doi! So I got to do some editing on this before I put it up. So, anyways, this individual who is anonymous uh, is approached by this guy in his violent crime area, which he referred to as a Vietnamese kid, but owing to his age, he meant it to, the dude was in his 20s. But he pulls a knife on him at close quarters and is like, "Give me your wallet." Now, this individual reaches into, he has his wallet in his back pocket, and in his other back pocket, he has a knife, which I held the actual knife. It's about yay big closed. It's not a small knife. I don't think it's legal to carry. The thing about this knife is it almost falls open. It's like, so he figured out a way to carry it to where you just grab the handle and it practically falls open, and it had a huge thing called the bolster part of the knife, which is not part of the blade, that you could just hold. So he pulls his knife out and he cuts this dude. And that's self-defense. But I said, "Well, what happened?" And he said, "Well, what happened is I'm pretty sure I killed him." It's like I cut him real bad, and I just left. He said, "I'm pretty sure I killed him. I didn't call anyone." You know, well, that part I'm kind of like throwing in there, but that's kind of what I intuited. Is like he figured like I just probably killed somebody. I'm not going to call the police about it. I'm not going to call the authorities about it. So I threw that story in there, and I did it again, but I'm going to edit this out where I'm actually naming names and whatnot. But I was like very careless in this other video about the stuff that I'm saying, and that's not even part of what's on a therapy disc. Because if I made a therapy disc about all the horror and nonsense and madness and flat out unbelievable shit that's gone down in my life, it would have just been too long, and I was self-conscious in my therapy video with the confidentiality with the psychiatrist that I kept like saying, well, that's about 120 minutes, it's 144-minute length. It could have been 3 hours easy, so I excluded things like that, and um, you know, so I was talking about like murders that I know about and people that I know about that did this and that, and I was just like, yeah, this has got some good stuff in it that people might enjoy listening to, but this is not an episode of CSI. This is real fucking life. These are real people that are still alive. You can't go around, fingering. I wouldn't call that murder. I would call that self-defense. But he moved. He got the hell out. He moved from that state. That's how sure he was that he killed the guy. But anyways, this is not someone that I know casually. So it's not like you'll hear these people that are like, they brag about how big and bad they are and all this stuff. This was 100% true what this guy was telling me. And this guy was telling me shamefully about this. There wasn't no bragging in it. It's like he didn't want to tell me about it. He didn't like doing it. You don't like that he did it. So, anyways. But yeah, the main point of this video is I'm just, if that therapy disc, if it doesn't turn out pretty damn soon, I'm just going to get out in front of it and I'm just going to put it on here. I'll find a way to put it on here to where it's very unlikely that anybody that could be personally offended or damaged by it would see it. I'll find a way to do that somehow, or I'll edit out names if I have to, you know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. All I can tell you is like if you put yourself in my shoes, which I assume that you're a smarter, more savvy human being than me, I would never do anything this dumb. But if you just had like put all your like nasty little secrets, put it on a disc, and just trusted somebody with it, and then that disc is just floating around and you don't know where it is. And this is the computer age where like, somebody could find it and it could already be uploaded on here for all I know. It could be already on somebody's Facebook page for all I know. It could all already be like being made into a screenplay. I don't know anything about it. So I'm like, I might as well put that stuff up myself. If I can't get that back, and I don't know, nobody's giving me that back, you know, might as well. But my voice is gone, and it's time for me to say bye bye. And I will check in, and I swear to God, I swear to whatever rules this universe that likes to play these silly little games on me. In my next video, I will just give you a brief analysis and report on my knee situation or how my appointment went. No more of this hour long corncob pipe Mark Twain bullshit where I'm just like playing orator and trying to be entertaining. But now I have to edit this fucking thing because I got, it's like, to me, um, yeah, I take that honesty level, that honesty stuff too far sometimes. That's, yeah, it is what it is. Anyways, this is going to be a rough day because I did not get enough sleep and it's not starting out all that good. And I just hope you can hear them howling winds outside, man. That's just atmospheric, man. Ooh, man, I got the dim lighting, got the howling winds. I'm talking about blood curdling crimes. I was just going to say murder just because it's dramatic, but I don't consider that a murder. That's just self defense. If you pull a knife on somebody, you get what you get. You pull a gun on somebody, you get what you get. You know, you can't like throw a punch, hit somebody in the face, and then have them beat your ass, and then claim that you were assaulted. It just doesn't work that way. So, uh, anyway, there's a pretty good stamp. Maybe you heard that one. Anyways, I'm gonna play this back, and I gotta edit it. And I hope you have a good day. And I always wish you the best. I'm actually a pretty nice feller, and I really do hope that all the people out there that are going through their benzo trials, and I assume that's who my audience is. I hope they're doing. Now, I used to always say I hope you're doing better than me, but I wake up in a good mood now. I'm Xanax clean since January 4th, and I don't wake up thinking about guns and Russian roulette. And, occasionally I think about sad memories and stuff, but I wake up and I don't feel like that. I don't feel like like an emotional wreck like first thing in the morning. And that is awesome. So, for some of y'all, I hope you feel as good as me. I always say I hope you feel better than I do. I hope you're doing better than I do. But for some of y'all, I hope you're doing as good as me. Because for someone who hasn't slept and who has CRPS and has an appointment coming up to find out if they're going to be able to walk or not, I'm in a pretty goddamn good mood. So, on that note, I shall say adios and goodbye. And I will talk to you and give you a brief synopsis of my appointment in my next vid. That will be no longer than 10 minutes. And to God,